We got about 5 more minutes. We're going to let people keep trickling in. Thank you all for coming, and wow, it's a good crowd. This is the pre-show banter. I haven't gotten into the monsters yet. This is a little bit about us. How much longer? 2. All right, got it. Thank you. We got a couple more minutes. So, I'm Mark Muncy. I'm the author of the Eerie Florida series, and I'll say that again in a couple minutes. How many people here have actually read one of my books? Oh, quite a few. Excellent. Thank you. How many people work at a CVS and see it staring at them every day and are just wondering what the heck this book is? There's one. Yes, always one. Yeah, it's a little crazy. My publisher puts us all over the place, and it's always fun. We walk into somewhere and somebody's like, "Hey, did you know your book's in Harbor Freight?" Yeah, we got the Harbor Freight Market cornered for ghosts, monsters, and legends. This is awesome. Well, keep on coming in, folks. There's a few seats scattered about, and I don't mind standing remotely, although I think there are some codes. So that's the real monster of Florida is codes. Oops, and stepping on cords. Oh no. Yes. See. So anyway, I write about folklore. I write about history. And I love writing about monsters. I mean, I write about ghosts. I write about UFOs. As you can see, for our first book, Eerie Florida, we hit the gamut there. We've got the Gulf Breeze UFOs up in the top corner. We've got a couple of the monsters we're going to be talking about today. And all we did was just adjust the Florida seal. I think it's a bit more appropriate this way. The native Timacuan, they believe, throwing flowers onto the ground and the seal. We were like, if you're going to update the Florida seal, it probably should be lottery tickets. But yeah, we'll be going into this. My wonderful, talented wife, who's downstairs manning our booth right now, is the illustrator, and she brings these monsters, these cryptids. They don't like to pose for anything except blurry photos, right? They're such divas. So she has to bring them to life from witness accounts and stuff like that. I tend to get a lot of emails of people trying to figure out, well, what do I do? I've seen this, I've experienced this. Who do I need to reach out to? And so that helps me quite a bit because that gets me more stories, and it lets me validate other stories that people have had. So I'm going to try to leave a little bit of time at the end because we had an amazing thing happen at recent Tampa Bay Comic-Con. I did a panel on monsters, and a person at the end asked a question if I knew anything about a certain monster in a certain area of Florida, and I was like, no, I hadn't heard of this. This was new for me. I love this stuff. And then he starts describing it, describes the encounter he had, and then on the other side of the room, some guy goes, holy crap! And he had his hand up. He was about to say the same thing. So, and then we found out his was from like 10 miles apart. About 2 weeks later, did the thing have moved? Possibly. So definitely if you saw something weird, and you don't know what it was, there's a chance that somebody else saw it too. And that validated those two guys so much, and they were so happy. And now we've got a team that normally researches skunk apes out there researching that to see if they can find it. So that's the beauty. I can put people in with the right things. So I think we got about another minute or so here. So I don't want to get too far in without doing that. But I'll answer questions at the end. I'm always happy to, and then if we run out of time, you can find me at my booth down there. I'm way in the back of Artist Alley, like about as far away from here as you can possibly be. So, D545, I'm told to say. Welcome to the Monsters of Florida. For those who weren't there for the first few minutes, I'm Mark Muncy, author of Eerie Florida, bestseller from Arcadia Publishing and History Press. We did a follow-up book, Freaky Florida, which was, we were allowed to go into deeper dives and go to crazier places. And then our last book came out 2019, right before the world ended, called Creepy Florida, because we're running out of adjectives. And that one's all ghosts, so that one's all paranormal. I won't be hinting too much on that one in this talk, because this is monsters. This is what you guys are here for. You're here for cryptids. Arcadia, we love them. They put us everywhere. We're, like I said, Cracker Barrel, Walgreens, CVS, Harbor Freight. But we're at Barnes & Noble, Books A Million, all that. And we just adore them. And if you're ever into history books at all, they are the people to find. Arcadia Publishing, their subprint, History Press. They do all those, like, you'll walk into a gift shop, you'll see the Battle of Ulusty, or the history of your town. That's them. So they took a chance with us, and with something that was just way out there. And now, of course, they've got a whole Eerie series. So there's Eerie, Alabama, Eerie, New Mexico. My wife's illustrating those. But I specialize in Florida. I ran a haunted house for 20 years down in St. Petersburg, Tampa area called Hellview Cemetery. And it was based on the lost legends of lost cemeteries in Tampa Bay, where the settlers would come in, build a nice little settlement, hurricane, tropical storm, natives would wipe them out, and then they would move away, and then new people would move in and say, oh, look at all this flat land. Let's build new houses here, not realizing they were building over old stores and old cemeteries. And now as we rebuild every city in America, particularly in Tampa Bay, they are finding lots of these old lost cemeteries. And one of the ones we learned about was called Hillview. And so, of course, the Tales from the Crypt fan and me had to make it Hellview for our haunted house. So that's what started, was we were collecting stories. And I was just like, hey, instead of having a werewolf jump out at you, I'll have the Florida skunk ape jump out at you. Only the right people might know, right? And then instead of a vampire, we had this lady named Madame Orr, who was this infamous bordello owner in Tampa. And she was, quite crazy, and to the point where Teddy Roosevelt insisted her bordello be burned down. So we turned that into From Dusk Till Dawn. It was too good of a story to pass up. If Teddy Roosevelt wants you dead, there's something wrong. But anyway, so we started digging up all these stories. Well, 2014 rolls around, and we had like 10,000 people a weekend coming through my backyard. And so we got shut down by the city. Imagine that. It was all for charity, but it was all good fun. But then we were like, what are we going to do with all these stories? And we've been publishing them online as spooky versions, Tales from the Crypt style versions of the real legends. And we found out that we were being kind of ripped off. People were copying our stories and posting them on things like No Sleep, Reddit, and Creepypasta, and we weren't getting any credit for it. And people were coming up through our haunted house going, hey, this reminds me of the dancing guy from Creepypasta. I'm like, that's a Gulfport ghost. That's one of ours. And and I go online, I'm like, holy crap, they ripped us off. So we printed it out as a book, 31 Tales of Hellview, and we filled it with photos from the haunted house. That way we'd at least have a proof that we had done this. But then when we got shut down, the publisher reached out and said, hey, would you guys like to do this for real? Oh, heck yeah. So traveled 10,000 miles, never left the state, went to all these locations and got the crazy stories. So that's me, that's my background. I'm a journalist by trade and a historian by nature. So I really liked getting the history behind the legends. Right? There was a cool legend there, but I want to know why it's there and what it's about. So there's Book, there's Freaky, there's Creepy, like the pirate ship from the Everglades. That's a great legend. We have some time. All right, so here, right off the bat,